All right, hello YouTubers, this is Road Trek Ralph, and today's video is an update on my Gear Vendors overdrive underdrive install on this 72L Camino. All right, so if you watched my previous video where I believe it's Gear Vendors wiring is the name of it, I did mention that this is going to be a temporary install just to see if it works. Okay, I just want to see if the Gear Vendors works. It is a secondhand Gear Vendors to me, so I don't know any history about it. I bought it used, and I wanted to install it and just to see if it operated. And the only way I could do that was to put it all in and then run a direct 12 volts to the solenoid through a switch. Okay, I have a switch mounted on the dash just to see if it works, and got it all hooked up, got everything going, and I'm happy to say that yes, it does work. I don't have much history on it, don't know anything about it, but I am happy to report this Gear Vendors does work. All right, so I took it for about, I guess, 125-mile drive, and I was toggling the switch in and out, and it shifts in just fine, and it shifts out, even better. So it does work. The RPMs drop about 500 when I hit the switch. So I'm very happy with that. The rest of the video is basically going to be lessons learned, and I will show a quick shot of the Gear Vendors underneath the car. But some lessons learned in this. I'll just start from left to right. When I first got into this project, I knew there wasn't going to be any clearance because of the tunnel. There was no tunnel clearance for the Gear Vendors. So I went online. Conversion Cross Members is the name of the company out of Las Vegas, and I bought this shorter transmission mount, which would have dropped the whole transmission and Gear Vendors down at least about an inch. I ended up not using this because I did create the clearance I needed for the Gear Vendors after all. And the way I did that was with this air hammer right here. Just an old Ingersoll Rand air hammer, of course, with the snap-on quick disconnect coupler. I didn't have anything for pounding or shaping metal. All I had were chisels and cutting shears. So what I did was I took one of these spacers from Vintage Air and Classic Auto Air installs I've done in the past. I have these leftover spacers, and I cut the end of a chisel and I welded it to the end of the chisel, so I was able to pound underneath the flooring using that homemade tool that I got there. And it did a really, really good job. So I was able to make the clearance I needed. Don't need that after all. All right, one of the mistakes I made is I went to the junkyard and I bought this drive shaft. I know it's an ugly drive shaft. I bought this drive shaft because I wanted to cut this one and install this drive shaft for this project. I wanted to keep the original drive shaft, which I still have sitting right over there. That's the original drive shaft from the 72L Camino with the 350 and the original tail housing. I didn't end up using that. I didn't want to cut that because in case I do sell the car in the future, in case who knows, with that Colorado trip I want to take with this car, I might take that drive shaft just in case there's a catastrophic failure with the drive shaft I have in there now, or the Gear Vendors. I could just, replace the tail housing, put the drive shaft back on, I'll be back on the road. But so because I wanted to keep my original drive shaft, I went to the junkyard to buy this one, and I took this to the drive shaft shop. I said, "Here, can you cut this down?" And they said, "Nope, we can't cut that thing down. It's bent." So, to the naked eye, I didn't see that it was bent, but somehow he was able to tell that the drive shaft was bent. So I wasted $85 on this drive shaft. $85 I paid from the junkyard for this drive shaft. So don't make the same mistake I made, folks. Put it in your budget to get a new drive shaft if you want to keep your old drive shaft. If you plan to keep your old drive shaft to put your car back in its original configuration, just put it in your budget to buy a new drive shaft. That's what I ended up having to do, just buy a new drive shaft. All right, so moving on. Again, lessons learned. When I took this tail housing off the TH350, I didn't have a new rubber gasket, so I used this stuff here, the right stuff. I've been using this stuff. I don't know how long back this stuff came out, maybe 15 years ago. I've been using it ever since. This is some really good stuff. It's a black 1-minute gasket maker. I mean, you cannot beat it. Really good stuff. I also use that not only where the adapter, the gear vendor's adapter attaches to the transmission, but I also used it to where the gear vendors itself attaches to that adapter, because there's a paper gasket there, and of course, since the gear vendor's unit I bought was secondhand, that paper gasket was torn. It was basically just trash. So I just, with this stuff here, a little dab will do ya. Just a little dab will do ya. I put a real light coat of this stuff on the tail shaft, and I put a really light coat on it, on the gear vendors to the adapter housing, and no leaks. Like I said, I took it for a 125-mile drive, no leaks. Now, in my install, as you can see here, I did have to cut the exhaust out. I had to cut out 2 portions of the exhaust, because without that, the gear vendors would not have gone in. There was no way it was going to be installed. The exhaust sat right underneath where the gear vendors is located now. So I didn't want to do that, but I had no other choice. I had to cut it. So good thing is now, after taking it to the exhaust shop and explaining to them what happened, they went ahead and, or explained to them what I did. They went ahead and redid these tubes to where it clears the gear vendors. So in the future, if I had to remove the gear vendors, if I have to go back to the original configuration, I could do so with ease. I won't have to, there won't be any cutting necessary. So those are the couple lessons learned. Again, I don't have any of this stuff installed yet. You don't have to operate the gear vendors with this stuff. You could bypass it the way I did by just 12-volt source directly to the solenoid. Now, again, it was temporary. I've already disconnected it. I've disconnected it from the inside. I don't have it connected anymore. I don't want to take any chances on accidentally running that gear vendors in reverse. It's a catastrophic failure. So again, this is just all temporary. I will install this. This will be installed, but that'll have to wait probably another couple weeks or so. But here's my old school Martin Brothers bikes jacket. I think I've had that almost 20 years. Shout out to those guys up there in Johnson City. All right, so here's my gear vendors install here. Let's see here. There it is. There's my new exhaust tubing right there. And there's the gear vendors install. So that red wire that you see grounded, that's going to one of the prongs on the solenoid. The other prong is a 12-volt switch source. But there it is right there, and it's not leaking or anything. So it works. I'm happy for it. The gear vendors does work, and so far so good. But again, I'm not 100% done with it. I still got to put that control module, and that control module, of course, will attach to the speedometer, and the speedometer will work because the gear vendors does not kick in unless you're going about 45 miles an hour on the auto mode, and I think 20 miles an hour if you have it on manual mode. But you have to be going a certain speed for it to kick in when you have that module connected. But since I have it temporarily, I can just kick it in whenever I want. But again, that's already been disconnected from the inside. I'm not using that anymore. I just use it just to test it. And all right, well, that's it. It does work. I'm happy. So far, Gear Vendors is working out for me. I'm in it so far at $2,000, maybe about $2,100. I'm in it. The cost of the Gear Vendors, the cost of getting this drive shaft cut, and the cost of getting the exhaust, fixed the way I needed it. But so now there's clearance. So all right, YouTubers, thank you for watching my video, and y'all have a good day. Keep wrenching.